I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands.
Welcome to Build an Iconic Life podcast. I'm your host, Chris Whitehead, and this podcast is dedicated to help you build a life with zero regrets by focusing on how you have everything you need to stand up, stand out, and live life on your terms. Let's dive right in. Hey everybody, it's Chris Whitehead with Build an Iconic Life. I'm here with James Smith, a good friend of mine. I've known him now for a little over 3 years. He's made tremendous progress in his growth personally, professionally, and I'm really excited to talk about him today. And really excited to talk about what he's actually been going through for the last 6 months. It's been pretty intense, and especially coming up on the holidays, this is a great reminder. And in the process, he also started a business called Throttle Foundation, and this is a brand new startup from a company that he has been running now for a number of years successfully. And I just want to welcome you to the show, man. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me. I've been wanting to get on this show for a little while, so I'm excited to be here.
Well, let's see if it's all it's cracked up to be, man. So first, how long have you been a business owner?
So I've always made attempts my whole life, but officially since 2011.
Since 2011, okay.
Yeah.
And how did COVID go for you?
So COVID was a little scary to start. We were able to consider ourselves a what's it called? Required business. Essential business.
Yeah.
Because we do breathalyzers for the state of Connecticut, and nurses and doctors and important people have breathalyzers, and they need them calibrated to keep moving.
Okay.
The main portion of my business was completely dead, so it was very scary. You know, people weren't coming out, people weren't shopping, no one was doing anything. I mean, my phones weren't even ringing. But was it May, the government started rolling out that money and people started shopping. So my business boomed from it.
Now, you know, you and I were part of a mastermind group. That's how I met you. Like, how did the whole idea of you deciding that you wanted to join a mastermind even come about? And quite honestly, what was your reason for wanting to join the mastermind?
So I actually didn't realize I was joining a mastermind necessarily. So obviously, I know Tom.
Yep.
And Tom and I met in 2019. So Tom and I had a conversation. I had started doing eMyth business coaching. I'm sure you're familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
So Tom and I had a conversation in late 2019 where he had some pretty real stuff to tell me. And at the time, I wasn't quite ready to hear it. And I talked about his kind of coaching business that he was doing, and it was more than I wanted to spend. But I continued with the eMyth. I did eMyth for about 14 months. And then around Black Friday 2020, they were rolling out that Black Friday special. I reached out to Tom, and I thought I was moving kind of into coaching with Tom. I didn't necessarily realize what the whole picture was. So I signed up with Tom to do the coaching and joined the mastermind, which I'm grateful I did. It's changed a lot of things in my life.
Like what?
Well, personal development mostly. You know, one of the biggest things that I've learned is you can only bring your business as far as yourself. Mm-hmm. So I always focused on my business as a business owner. I didn't focus on myself as much. You know, I've always been big into health and fitness, but let's talk about the other aspects, you know, your relationship with your wife and just your mental capacity and, you know, appreciation for life really is a big one. Appreciation for your employees, because that all transfers. I didn't focus on that type of stuff. And my business, I don't want to say suffered from it, but my business was hindered by it. So I was able to expand myself. You know, I was able to become more confident, you know, more grateful, more appreciative of everything around me, which transferred into my business to help my employees become better. My employees like me more because I appreciated them more. And it just, you know, it's a big giant circle.
You know, and just to put it into perspective, it's not like you joined a mastermind in Connecticut. You
Right.
joined
I
a
flew,
mastermind in Dallas, Texas,
and I flew
and
there every
committed to
Friday,
coming down
once a
once
month.
per month. And we spent a lot of time online. We did a lot of coaching. I was director of executive coaching for that whole mastermind. It was a pretty big one. But I also, and I didn't remember when apparently, but I remember you coming in. You were probably a good 15 pounds lighter than you are now. And it's all muscle that you put on yourself, at least 15, I'm guessing. There was almost a nervous energy about you when you first joined.
Yeah.
And I've seen you transition through this personal development and business development, start to get success from it. And what I started seeing happen is a solid man started showing up in a nervous man's place. Do you believe that that's kind of the way it has felt for you too?
100%. I mean, I was definitely nervous the first time. I'm definitely a different person today, a lot more confident. My life's been changed, thanks to people like you guys in that program.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Which is better? Is it the student or the teacher? Right? Because without one, you don't really have a need for the other.
Right.
So I see it as a collective. And that's the only reason I wanted to highlight it is because I think there are probably a lot of people that are going to listen to this and they hear, oh, you joined a mastermind. Is that like a BNI or, which is a networking organization? Is it No. It's people that are like-minded, that were committed to becoming a better version of who they were and helping each other in business and in life. And what ends up coming from that is we end up making friends for life from it. And what's even funnier is that, I'm in New Hampshire, you're in Connecticut. We're like less than 2 hours away from one another, but we had to go to Texas to actually meet each other. And here we are all these years later. I'm not a part of that organization anymore. You're not a part of that organization anymore. And we still go to Texas because of our good friend Tom. Like, I'm literally wearing his jacket today, Step It Up Academy, because Tom was my coach. And from becoming my coach, we then kind of became best friends because we had very similar core values. And there have been a small troop of us running ever since. And my life is better for it just because I have friends, like real friends, people that I don't know about you, but I've been in business since 1998. And and
I was still in high school.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate that big time. A lot of my friends were my employees, and that's not a really good place to draw that kind of friendship from one aspect only. It's kind of like if you have kids and you start making your kids your best friends. When it comes time to discipline, when it comes time to hold the line, they just kind of look at you and say, oh, I'm on the same level as you are. You don't have a right to do that. And then I would have to pull out the big gun and say, well, I guess I write the checks and I won't be doing that for you anymore, so you need to leave. And so when I started to make real friends, what really started happening for me is I had a barn door to throw mud against and to really hear the feedback from people. And sometimes it wasn't pleasant. Sometimes it was encouraging. But the most important thing that I got from it is that I saw people constantly pushing themselves forward. And so every month I would attend, I would see you get stronger physically. I would hear about success in business. I would hear about trips being taken, which built my dream, because I wanted to go on a trip. I don't know, but a lot of people don't know this, but when you start a business, for the first few years, you don't really get to travel very much. It's not a corporate lifestyle. It's get in the trench, do the work, and pray that you can get back up tomorrow and do it again until it makes enough money. And I not only have witnessed it for others and for myself, but concerning you, I literally watched you go through another round of hell. And this is much more recent and on a level that most people hopefully only experience near the end of their lives anyway. And if you were willing to share about that just a little bit, because I truly feel, bro, that if you hadn't have been part of that mastermind, where you would be right now based upon what you're getting ready to say is a completely different place.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to give a little, I guess, background. The mastermind and coaching helped me to build my business to be independent. Where what you may not know either is in 2019, my brother passed away. And that's actually what kind of propelled my kind of transformation journey a little bit. When he passed away, I couldn't take time. I mean, I took time off from the business, but I came back to double the workload.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't give myself that fair chance to mourn and grieve because I took the time off, went to my family in New Hampshire, came back, and I had to work, and I buried myself in work, and I never really, gave myself the time to absorb that and process it properly. So fast forward to this year, what you're talking about is, my wife passed away in May. And it was very unfortunate, very unexpected. She didn't come home from work one day. I went looking for her and I found her. So it was a tragedy. And I was in shock. I couldn't work. I actually took about 6 weeks off, maybe five and a half. I did work a tiny bit in that time at home, but my mental capacity wasn't there.
Sure.
And if I didn't build the business where I could step away and let it run itself with systems, processes, core values, all those things we talk about, I would have never been able to do that. And I may have lost my business because that one was so bad. Like my brother was bad too. I don't want to discredit it, but I couldn't function. I couldn't talk to people. There was no way I was coming to work. It's your brother's hard, but my brother was in the service, so he wasn't around. So it was a little different where she was part of my everyday. I woke up next to her, I went to bed next to her, I texted her,
Yeah.
hey, look at this stupid meal I'm eating, all the stupid things you text someone. So it was a really big transition. And not only that, what people don't realize is there's so much more of a trickle effect between taking care of the house and the pets, and now you got to take care of all their stuff, which I'm actually still taking care of it. We're still dealing with the estate, and it's been over 6 months. So it becomes a lot, and there's a major trickle effect. But building the business where I could take the time off to do what I had to do, grieve properly, absorb it, and take care of myself first so I can come back healthy and strong was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah, I mean, number one, you shorten the time span of the grieving process. Everybody has to go through a grieving process with all sorts of things in life. Some people go ahead and get through it and on to the other side of it. And some people take the rest of their lives in an attempt to just overcome the grieving process. And I'm not minimizing what you're going through, man. I've never experienced it. I don't want to. I don't wish it on you. But I'm just going to be real. Like, you came up for one of my events in Boston, and I mean, one of the coaches was on stage and he was getting after you because there was just an attitudinal shift that you had. And it was apparent. And as he was getting after you, you expressed that you literally had just learned that day some information. What that information is not really relevant, but it was concerning your wife, and you'd been waiting to hear that information for a long time. And I watched you in front of a whole room of human beings be authentic and vulnerable. And dude, you could have heard a pin drop. And the craziest thing is, and this is where it's inspirational and motivational for me, because I'll never forget it. We were doing an exercise, and I think your job was to pay attention to the clock hand, huh?
Yeah, the clock hand.
And every time the clock hit a certain number, you would tell somebody to do a function. We were teaching people how to scale a business. And instead of you calling bullshit on that and walking out of the room, which I think you were literally on the verge of doing, dude, you stood up and you did the work. And that's people need to understand that you have two choices in your situation. You can be the victim or you can be the victor. This is the only two options you have, and they lead to very, very different destinations. And here you are still dealing with it. Here you are making a really smart move, a few years ago by saying, I'm going to get my business put together. I'm not going to be lazy about it. You planted a tree it's able to provide you some shade when you needed it most. And here you are, Full Throttle Foundation is not the original business that you started in 2011. You've decided to go ahead and start another business. And what's that one about?
Well, so I started this business. I mean, I had the idea to start this business for years, and I kind of was growing, my authority in the seed. But it's basically, I've learned a lot of business owners are stuck in their business. They're an employee, right? You hear all the time people say, I started a business to have the freedom. Instead of working a 9 to 5, I now work a 12 to 12 or whatever it is. And it doesn't have to be that way. Maybe in the beginning, you got to bust your ass, you got to grind, you got to establish that foundation. But there comes a point where you got to be able to step out and let that baby grow. Because if you're always in it, it's not going to grow. And it's about when something happens to you, not if, because everyone at some point in their life is going to have something happen to them, whether it's an injury, sickness, a death, of a family member, friend, and they need to be able to step out of their business to take care of themselves. And that's why it's important to do this. So I started this to help other business owners realize that and learn how to take the steps that I took to build that self-sufficient business.
And it's not like the information that you're sharing can't be found on YouTube or Google, and everybody thinks, that's an easy thing to do. But what my experience was, and this is why I kind of brought all this up with the mastermind, dude, I was able to do in 2 years what I couldn't accomplish in 20 because I was just around the right group of people.
Right.
And so what you're doing is you're making space for other people that want the exact success that you've built. So you're in integrity. And then all you're going to do is shrink their time curve. So they exchange money for the ability to shrink their learning curve so that they can get the results that they want faster.
So I believe there's, we have a few types of people. There's the business owners that have no clue what to do, where to start. They're just in the business working, whatever it may be. Then there's the business owners that they know what to do. They just don't know where to start. Then there's the business owners that they know what to do. They know how to start, but they need that accountability.
Yeah.
And, basically I want to find each person at any of those phases to help them, show them where to start and give them that accountability. Because sometimes that's all we need, someone to say, hey, I need this done by next Wednesday. It's like when you were in high school, you got a paper due on Wednesday. Maybe you're up all night Tuesday getting it done, but you stayed up Tuesday because it was due Wednesday.
Yeah. It had an actual due date. And that's the weird thing about the freedom of owning a business. Except for you paying your bills, there is no requirement from you. You don't have to show up at 9. You don't have to leave at 5. And what ends up happening to a lot of us is, and it did happen to me, my business became my identity for a long time.
Yeah. No, it happened to me too.
And I'm sure that's what you're learning even with your wife. It's like, James is James. This person is this person. That person is that person. This business is that business, but I am me. And that's a really hard lesson that a lot of people never learn, and it keeps them in victim mode for their entire lives because they're identifying with other people, other things, and it's a really, really slippery road on either count because if you give your power to anything else and don't hold it inside of you, you're not in control, and that loss of control can lead to all sorts of what I call isms. They're the things that you do to self-soothe when shits hit the fan, and we all have them. But we realize that, we employ people, man. They're counting on us to make sure they get paid. We're counting on them to do the work, and they're counting on us to handle business and to create a safe space for them. And I applaud you for doing it. Because what I've personally found is the teacher often becomes the greatest student. because you're constantly trying to bring people better and better information or more relevant information. So you're up there speaking or you're helping, and you're making a system that used to have 5 steps only have 3 now, and then 2, and then can I communicate it in just 1 sentence? And so that'll make you better, and in turn the right people will draft right behind you, and the success is self-evident at that point. When you've helped other people get to where you've gotten to, now you've got a whole nother mechanism that has the ability to scale. And you've already done it once. Now's the chance to do it in a lot shorter amount of time.
Right. And hopefully, I will. So we'll get there.
Dude, you're surrounded by the right people. You still have coaches. And there are others of us that are doing the same thing that you are. And the best part about what we do is we collaborate. We don't compete. Dude, I've got a hustle shirt on. This is from a guy back in our old mastermind. I've got Tom Keenan's Step It Up Academy sweatshirt on. I'm not even wearing iconic stuff where I build the same kinds of businesses that you do, but we're highlighting you. Like, man, at the top levels of things, people don't compete. That's all happening down below, and people listening to mass media and all sorts of other crapo to try to keep you separated. At the highest levels, we complement one another. We want to help each other win because we realize that tide will raise all the ships.
Right, because if we're all on the same team, it's just like my employees in my store. I want to help them win. And this is actually a good point for business owners listening. One of the hardest lessons for me was to humble myself, stepping out of positions in my store to let my employees get better than me. And I always wanted to be the top dog, but if my employees level up and get better than me, my store is leveling up and getting better. Same thing with the group. The more we all level up, the better that group becomes.
Yeah. And the beautiful part now is that we have social media. We don't have to go, meet everybody in person. We can brand ourselves. We can market ourselves. We can communicate and let people get to know what value offer that we bring. We can give value away at no cost to show people what it is we do. And in the process, hopefully, just like you, Tom was in New York. You wanted to coach with Tom. That was a little too much money at the time. Tom goes over here. Tom then starts getting on social media. You join another mastermind group to coach with Tom that happens to be somewhere else. And here we are inside of social media land, following each other around. If we can do it, if we can build companies with people that not only employees that are like, dude, I've got top-notch people working inside of Iconic, top-notch people working inside of New England Custom Remodeling too. But if we can do that and you can do that, what does it end up looking like when we have pockets all over the United States of people that are collaborating with one another to help each other win? Dude, as a business owner, I never had anybody to throw anything against. Maybe like a parent who'd never owned a business, who was kind of like, well, maybe you should do it like this. And I'm like, maybe that's going to end my career. Like, you don't know. And now we're surrounded by people that are not only successful, but they're choosing to live the rest of their lives to become more successful.
Well, I was actually going to say that with one of the advantages of joining these groups is you have people to lean on that have similar experience. They've maybe been there or they're in a similar situation, and you can brainstorm and kind of come together rather than asking, say, your parents who have never owned a business. Yeah. So they've never walked in those shoes and they don't know. But going back to the condensing time, it's the same thing. I can reach out to you. I can reach out to Tom, anyone in that group and say, well, I would make a post and say, hey, I need help with this. And someone who's been there, done that is going to guide me in the direction that worked for them and hopefully works for me as well. And it usually does. But you have that experience always behind you and around you to help shorten everything that you want to do.
Well, that's exactly how I was able to accomplish in 2 years what I couldn't do in 20. 2 reasons. Number one, I realized that I had put a governor on my business, meaning it would only go so fast. Part of that was because I was afraid to take steps because of the mistakes that it could lead to. So even though I wanted what was on the other side of that, or the reward from it, I was like, ooh, I better wait until I have a whole bunch of extra monopoly money.
Yeah.
because if it doesn't work. And so I kept playing that game, James, for years and years. And guess what? I never had enough money. I never had enough money to take a risk on me. So number one, by taking that risk on me, I was surrounded by other people that motivated me to take more risk. And when I chose to do it and say I don't know how to do it, then they would give me advice. And then when I would mess it up, they would say, well, this is who you go talk to about that to fix it. And so the whole thing just, first it shrunk because I'm moving very quickly compared to how I used to move. And number two, every step along the way, I have a consultant, somebody to go, hey, am I aimed at the target still in there? Oh, just a little bit right. Okay, just a little bit left, just a little up, a little down. And the next thing you know, we run through the paper target, not even realizing that it was that close to us. And that became an aha moment for me of like, dude, you literally are the people you surround yourself with.
No,
you become exactly like them.
No, and that saying I think holds more truth than people realize. You know, you the average of your 5 closest friends. You know, it doesn't have to be 5; it could be 2, it could be 10. But it's the people you hang out with makes a huge impact on your life. You know, because if they're negative, you may not be negative or listening or feeding into it, but you're hearing it and it's affecting you somehow or another.
What are some of the things that you've done since you started getting around other people that have become more habitual to you that help you continue to raise the thermostat on all of the goals that you're setting and the accomplishment of them?
Well, goal setting is a big one. I mean, I never did goal setting before, you know, so I would. Let me take that back. I would, but I would say, okay, I want to, this big goal. I didn't know how to break it down. I never really thought about breaking it down. So the group has taught me, when you break those goals down, it makes it much more manageable. And I've learned to take that into different areas of my life. So that's a big one. Reading. I started reading. I did the 75 hard, 10 pages a day. And I've continued that reading every day. Another big one is my morning time. So I have a really solid morning routine that I do. And that's kind of like my James time. It's my, before I start the day, puts me in a good mood to start my day on the right foot rather than getting up, rolling out of bed and seeing how the day goes. I establish my day before most people wake up and put myself in a good mood.
Dude, that is so key. The first thing that you do in the morning is take care of yourself.
Yeah.
It sets up the rest of your day intentionally, doesn't it?
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't end up waking up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon going, oh, I better get this done. And you leave at 4 and wonder why you're not making any money or your employees are quitting.
No, and I actually love my morning routine. I cherish it. I kind of don't let anything interfere with it because, I just added a sauna into it too. So it's really nice now. But every morning I get up, go to the gym, I come home, I make a cup of coffee, I'll read. When it's nice out, I read on my back porch, let the dogs play. And then I make my morning shake, use the sauna, shower, get ready, come to work. And just that reading and the coffee, it's become such a relaxing part of my morning, especially when I'm on my back porch. I love it. So
there's another tactic that I ended up adding to mine that I really like. I go, especially not in the winter, because we are in New England, but in the summer, I'll go out and ground. So I literally will walk outside with no shoes on in the grass and just observe nature. Like be really still in my mind and in my heart. And what's so cool is subconscious or unconscious thoughts will just kind of bubble up because just right after sleep. And what I can do is instead of trying to problem solve them, I just release them. Just let that go. And what I found like you is when I hit the go button, which is when everybody shows up here is the go button. I'm always go. But when everybody shows up here, it's like very intentional, very like I'm already going 70 or 80 miles an hour. There's no ramp up period. And I believe that it gives an attitude around here of urgency and expectancy. And I like that a lot because even our son right now, we're doing 75 hard now. It's like my 4th time. but even our son is doing 75 hard, and there's a level of intentionality that he's setting for himself that is it's literally going to be a foundation of how he can move forward whenever he gets rocked off center. Because that's what a foundation is for, man.
Yeah.
A foundation is a base. A foundation is something that will never move. It is true north. It is something that you can always count on. And in today's world, there are a lot less foundations than there used to be.
That's because it's instant gratification. Like everyone is in this instant gratification society, and they want things now rather than, waiting for it. So a little bit off topic, but I remember reading this book, and it said, most people these days, they hook up much faster. They have sex pretty quick in relationships. And the book said, that's how you end up with assholes. It was addressing females. She goes, no one wants to date an asshole, but you go out with someone, they're charming, they're nice, you hook up with them, you fall in love with the sex, and next thing you know, you're dating an asshole, and you stay with them. You didn't build that foundation based on who they are, what they like, and their personality. You built it based on sex.
Yeah, well, and the other thing, not to put it on people, although all we are is people, it's being promoted constantly. Short-term gratification, 7-second videos, even the marketing money is less expensive so everything's being promoted for you to eat the Twinkie.
Yeah.
Don't worry about cancer. It won't happen to you. That happens to them. Let's show you so much horror that all you do is sit on your couch and suck down your suds and low key be a depressed human being. And that's what I love about you doing a podcast, me doing a podcast, us building masterminds. Like, we're standing in the gap for people right now to say, hey, there's another narrative if you want to listen to it. And I know for me, I do, because I'm 50 now. Ugh. And I'm aware that I won't be here forever. And I'm aware that this is my shot to live my life the way that I want to live it. And what I decided to do is the same thing that you did. I decided, instead of waiting to be inspired, why not go inspire others and just live that way as long and as hard as I can. And bro, what I found out is the bad days don't last as long.
No, they don't, because you learn to, so for me, I extract a lesson and I move forward, because you can't control it.
Right.
What is it? You can only control the way you react to it. And it's okay. So going back to my wife passing away, it's okay to sometimes allow yourself to feel like the victim a little bit, allow yourself to grieve, allow yourself that space, but you got to get up and move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of took a lot of younger bucks, oh, you got to get up at 4 a.m. Yeah, good if you want to, but you don't have to. Maybe your circadian rhythm works at night. So giving advice and shaming people for not doing a hard life, to me, is a young man's game to talk about, because one day you're going to be 50, 60, 70 years old, and maybe you don't need to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. But here's what you can do. What you can do is get real clear about what you have control over. And what I've found, just like you, I realize it's very little.
Right.
And normally, at least when I was in victim mode, I was worried about all these things that worrying isn't going to make it better. And then I realized that was sucking the juice out of me being able to make money, which is making my situation better. So I started focusing on my attitude, my actions, my words, and ultimately my thoughts. And when it came down to the singularity of all this is coming from my thoughts, then is when I went, oh Lord, I just need to put better information in all the time. Garbage in, garbage out. Quality in, quality in, quality out. And that becomes the force field. And it's around our whole house, man. Like, I don't know if you know this, Robin just did her first podcast yesterday.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, bro, right in this room. She did it. She was nervous as hell, but she did it anyway. She's been doing live radio. She's building 2 businesses, one with her friend, one on her own.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's funny. She was nervous to do the podcast when she does the live radio.
But she had never done it before. And Yeah, exactly. The first time I did live radio, dude, if I didn't have somebody that was seasoned next to me, I heard my own voice come through the microphone and I froze immediately. I was like, ah. And the guy saw it, so he just kept asking questions, and we were throwing an event, and man, that was back in 2012. I thought she would have been way more nervous in radio because it's live.
Yeah.
The point is she did it anyway, and she is like hooked on personal development now. And so she's my biggest check, which is actually a pain in the ass because, every once in a while I just want to be a victim.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, you're not allowed. And so it's really, really good because I believe that what we're able to do is live that holistically and with integrity. And whether that's just me and a dog, me and a kid, me and a wife, me and a friend, it doesn't matter. But adding one more person, and this is what's so beautiful about Full Throttle Foundation, adding one more person to that mix that is like-minded is stronger than the power of two people. And I've noticed it, dude.
And it's synergistic.
Yeah. The question is what is it that people want? Yeah, that's going to be the greatest thing. And I don't know about you. Actually, I kind of do know about you, but you had this tragic thing happen, man, and then you got your ass on a cruise.
So that cruise was tough. My wife and I had booked that together.
Yep.
So I wasn't sure what to do. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to take it. And I used it, right? I got away from the business. I had no contact. So I was gone for 2 weeks on the cruise. It was 2.5 weeks total because I had to take some time before and after, but 2 weeks on the cruise, no contact with the store. And I used it, self-reflection. I did on all the excursions, not all, but most, I did some sort of hiking by myself. I went out Nook, Greenland, 6 hours, no cell phone service, and just hiked through the mountains by myself, and I reflected and I, really dug deep in this new chapter of my life and what I'm going to do. Every morning on that cruise ship, I stuck with my routine. I got up, I went to the gym. I went to the back of the boat by the windows. I drank a cup of coffee, read my book. I started journaling, and I started doing a lot of good things for myself to really, I used it as a healing vacation. So,
dude, what do you think you learn from this experience? Like, what is it? It's a hell of a thing that you've been through, man. Like, what have you really chosen to take away from it?
I mean, there's a lot of things I've taken away. The biggest one is that whole, stop and smell the roses. We all say it, but do we really do it?
I don't enough.
No one does, and I'm really trying to, now here we are 6 months later and I'm already kind of defaulting back, so I'm trying to stay out of that default and keep that fresh in my mind. I took notes in my phone of all the things that I learned from my wife while she was here and all the things that I learned from her passing, so I can revise those or revisit those notes and try to be a better, different person moving forward. But we take each other for granted too much. We rush through life and we don't stop, and smell the roses enough. And smell the roses can be many different things. It's enjoying the moment or checking in with someone, and the other one I've learned is the whole grass is greener on the other side is a big struggle. If we don't, gratuity helps with that. But it's that whole, you don't know what you have until it's gone mentality, because sometimes we're focused on the other side. We're focused on what we don't have rather than what we have. And then when you lose what you have, you're like, oh, shit, I had way more than I realized.
Yeah. That saying, there's the optimist, there's the pessimist, and there's the realist, right? The optimist sees half full, the pessimist sees half empty, and the realist sees a glass of water to drink.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I've waffled back and forth between all of those things, and situationally, I think, it's important to know that there are three options. But honestly, dude, being optimistic is for me is just a better way to live life. And it's not easy. Because I think it has something to do with being up north, man, and being so cold. But there are a lot of people here that can get kind of down in the mouth, right? That can see things as what they don't have. And it's one of the things that I'm so grateful about the people that I surround myself with. We kind of don't tolerate that talk for very long, mainly because we're afraid that sickness will jump off of that person and onto us.
And it will. It's cancer.
Yeah. And it just keeps me more optimistic. More optimistic makes me more grateful. The more grateful I am, the more opportunity seems to show up along the lines of what I want to accomplish. And I realize, oh, eureka, same thing as, you want to be the greatest student, be a teacher. If I put myself around people that are optimistic or that won't allow me to be negative, I can draft along with them. I can place goals in front of that, and lo and behold, we accomplish the goals. And I don't know about you, dude, but I had many years where it was kind of like Groundhog Day. Same day or different day, same crap, over and over and over. And when we started putting goals out there and then accomplishing them, I started realizing that I wasn't putting very big goals out at all. And that's a really scary thing to do as an entrepreneur.
I mean, that was my life 3 years ago. Every day was a shit show whirlwind. I was doing everything in the store, same day, different, crap, whatever the saying was. Mm-hmm. And I dealt with that every day. And fortunately now I don't, a little bit. It's always there a little bit, but
you don't get away from it entirely.
Go back a little bit when you're talking about maybe, it's New Hampshire and people are negative about the area. It's something I've thought a lot, and I feel like it's everywhere. Everywhere you go, most people, if you ask them what's there to do in their town or their area, they're going to say nothing. This place sucks, or, they want to move. And you have people that come from other towns to your town to do things and enjoy things.
You're right.
So it's just our mindset of where we are. And there is green grass underneath all of us. We just need to find it.
You're absolutely right. And I probably didn't define it very well, but I literally mean, I think because it is colder here for longer, people tend to have their hands in their pockets, their heads down, and why are you standing too close to me? And I just, now, this is my other experience, because I grew up in the South. Once you make friends up here, oh, that's for life. So there's something about very family oriented and very strong roots. But in the South, they fake friend you a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, bless your heart, which doesn't mean that at all. It means something way meaner than that. But everybody's out waving and being happy, or seemingly so. The other thing about at least this part of New England, I tell you one thing, dude, that first day of spring hits, every human being in New Hampshire is outside, because 4.5 months of snow is just about enough for anyone, I think.
Yeah, no, but and again, if you embrace the snow and you go snowboarding or skiing and, snowshoeing, so there's always a positive side to everything.
Or traveling to Florida to play golf for 4 months and coming back. That's another.
Or traveling to Florida to play golf.
Some of us do that.
But I mean, that is a opportunity that could be a silver lining,
Yeah, we used to do it with the kids, and it's a hell of a lot of work to load up a truck with 8 skis and boots and all this stuff, but get the chalet and finally get out there. But man, it makes that hot chocolate taste awfully good when you come back in.
I just started snowboarding, so.
You just did?
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. Did you get in powder yet?
No.
Okay.
I don't think
you mean
so.
You like this year or last year?
Okay. I actually started like 5 or 6 years ago. I went one time. I loved it. I actually didn't fall. I did really good. And I tore my meniscus doing something else. So then I didn't realize I tore my meniscus. My knee was just bummed and I couldn't do any torquing. 4 years later, I learned I tore it, had surgery, fixed. And last year I went snowboarding again for the first time, but I went several times. So I bought a season pass and I got some gear. My buddy's got a snowboard I'm going to use, and we're going to start. I'm doing kickball right now on Sundays. Kickball is our tournament's next Sunday. Then I'm going to start snowboarding on the weekends.
Yeah, you're never gonna strap two of my healthy feet to one stick, um, but I like skiing quite a bit. And um, Robin and I were out at Akimo or Sunday River or something. I can't remember where we were, but it was a bigger mountain, and it was spring, and I was skiing in the shadows, and dude, I was lightning fast down the hill, and I came out into the sun patch, and it was like the snow swallowed my skis, and I thought my knees were going to hyperextend break. I was literally windmilling, trying to stand myself back up because the front part of my body leaned all the way forward when I hit the snow. I've learned a whole bunch about skiing since I've been up here. But no, you will never put me on a damn stick with 2 feet tied in. I will tumble, bro.
I've never tried skiing.
Make noise.
I've never tried skiing.
Never?
No, I don't think so. I mean, maybe when I was a little kid, but I don't remember it. But I just kind of
New Hampshire though originally, right?
Yeah. My mom used to bring us to the free learn to ski snowboard days.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember trying the snowboard. I don't know if we ever tried the skiing.
My center of gravity is just high anyway because I'm a little bit taller. And I grew up playing baseball, so I'm super hand-eye coordinated. But I tried skating one time and went off the little ramp and sprained my wrist and got yelled at because I was supposed to pitch ball. And I'm like, yep, the hell with that. So I've never learned. But dude, to your point though, just getting out and doing stuff, it's cool. Even in the winter, you can go hiking around here. There's so many fun things to do. But there comes a point in time where you're like, all right, I'm done being cold, and and we're ready for spring. Let me ask you a question. Where can people find you right now if they wanted to learn more about Full Throttle Foundation?
TheRealJamesPSmith.com.
TheRealJamesPSmith.com.
Yep, and if you go there, it has the links to Full Throttle, links to Act Audio, basically my Facebook, all my information's there.
What's the next big plan, man?
Well, I really want to get the Full Throttle Foundations, running with, clients. Mm-hmm. So I have a couple clients right now, but I'd like to help much more people. I am working on a plan with Act Audio where I really want to be a complete automotive solution more than just electronics and accessories.
Wow.
Where we start doing detailing and more window tinting.
It's been really good having you on, man. Tell everybody one more time how they can find you.
The Real James P. Smith.
TheRealJamesPSmith.com. Go check him out, everybody. We appreciate you taking the time to listen, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for being on, brother.
Thanks for having me, man.
I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand.
Hey, friend. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, please leave a review and subscribe to catch future casts. If you really enjoyed this episode, make sure you share it so others can benefit from it as well. I'll see you in the trenches.
Try to catch me howling at the moon.